I used to go clubbing as well. I mean, that is also where I found my confidence. I was a massive part of the rave scene. So I went from being this,
I love it. I just love it.
So I was really shy. And then I went clubbing. And for me, it was quite revolutionary.
Welcome to Curious Chats and Kind Acts, the podcast that celebrates difference, kindness, and the little things we can all do to make our world a better place. Join me, your host, Sonia, co-founder of the Axe Charity, for some open, authentic and fun conversations with lots of interesting, extraordinary, everyday people who are all a little bit different. Prepare to have your curiosity piqued and your heart warmed as we explore the ways we can all make a difference in the world, no matter how small. So get ready to be inspired, uplifted and motivated to be the kindest version of yourself. Let's make the world a kinder place, one conversation at a time.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? Welcome to Curious Chats and Kind Acts. In this episode, I'm speaking to Louise. I know Lou through work, and she's facilitated some amazing action learning sets for me when I worked at Macmillan. Now, Lou's a really kind person, and I wanted to explore a little bit about why. We talk about how she tries to radiate this positive energy, and that she kind of follows that energy and the positive energy. We discuss shyness and how her clubbing days brought her out of a shell. That's an interesting one. We also talk about unkindness in the workplace and the challenges of losing her hair. Just to warn you, we do discuss drugs in this episode, and I start off by asking Louise about her childhood and what it was like growing up.
Quite happy childhood, quite a lot of clashes at home, though, because Dad, lovely bloke, but not very, quite controlling is a strong word, just quite old-fashioned and traditional, and like things done his way, and I rebelled against that quite a lot. So I rebelled against his approach to parenting, but there were also, he's quite the conservative, as in politically.
Which you're probably, I guess, the opposite.
The opposite, yeah. So it felt like a bit of a battleground a lot, and being a bit of a soul voice. So it's interesting to think where that came from, because it certainly wasn't nurtured at home in the sense of nature or nurture, because that wasn't my experience growing up at all. But still, always been passionate about the underdogs. But social wrong, social inequality.
So you grew up in that environment, school life, home life.
Okay. I think I reflect on this with my daughter Fons. I probably struggled a bit more at school-ish. I'm an overthinker, quite sensitive, but I did end up being quite popular. Didn't really date or anything, though. I wasn't popular in that sense. So I struggled to find myself maybe, and then started to flourish a bit more as quite shy, started to flourish a little bit more when I started to work and be a bit more confident. So, and it's interesting because the girls will look at me now and say, oh, you're really confident, because I will literally talk to anyone. Yeah. Because there's something about having a positive interaction and radiating, isn't it? But, definitely wasn't like that when I was a child. Very shy, quite insular, not really confident, but always kind of knew there was something in, but didn't bring it out. So I definitely went on a journey of confidence and evolution.
So you're at school very shy. Did you do uni and all that stuff?
I did, yeah.
Was that good?
Fell into it. Didn't really do any revising, fell into things. But I think I did use that as an excuse. So I put a bit more work and I could have done better. Got OK GCSEs, scraped A-levels, got into University of Wolverhampton, in clearing, did an interesting degree, started, but I think it's all part of you finding your tribe, isn't it, and finding your way. And I knew I wanted to get out of Pudsey.
Pudsey? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Between Leeds and Bradford.
Okay.
Pudsey Bear. Yeah.
Is that where Pudsey Bear came from?
That's where Pudsey Bear came from. I'm not sure why. It's a mid-small town, quite grey, quite not very liberal, not very diverse, still not very diverse. So, all those things that I I'm passionate about weren't happening in Pudsey as well. So I was quite happy to get.
So you went to
out of
Wolverhampton,
Pudsey.
which is probably the opposite.
Yeah, when I first went there, the pubs used to have, you know, those signs on the doors. No ... no students. You know, there was a list of the you know, the undiversity that wasn't allowed in the pubs. So this is. Because I'm 50 now, aren't I? So it's a long time ago.
And so was that, whilst you were there, you're saying like that's where you first started to figure out what your tribe was? And is that the first time you probably connected properly with people?
I mean, I used to go clubbing as well. I mean, that is also where I found my confidence. I was a massive part of the rave scene. So I went from being this,
I love it. I just love it.
So I was really shy. And then I went clubbing and, you know, there was a lot of stuff going on, but that also brought me out of my shell as well. So I know there's a lot said about, you know, certain things that went on in the clubbing scene. But for me, it was quite revolutionary and it kind of unleashed the person I was, yeah. So there's, you know, being in that environment with all those different things that went on in there, the music and everything else, it was absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Because it gave you the confidence that, well, is that what?
It came out. I mean, I used to chatting and
Yeah.
loving everyone, hugging strangers. And it was almost like, so I'd gone from this shy person to go clubbing and have, you know, and become.
So is that
the person I
like
wanted
the
to be.
effects of the alcohol? Whatever else?
Yeah, and whatever else, yeah.
It does sometimes. It like if I get really drunk, you do start chatting, don't
Yeah.
you? But you like those inhibitions almost.
Yeah.
So for the first time in your life, it's like you're free of all that those
free.
thoughts or
Yeah.
whatever.
So ecstasy, for example, was used in America when it first came in. It was used in mediation between couples because it made you empathise and love the people you're with. So when you were 17 going clubbing with all these other people, there wasn't a lot of alcohol going on. There was just all these people. You just would hug everyone. Everyone loved each other. Wow. We were all like, it was literally, you had all this empathy and love for people that you just go around. Everyone had a big smile on their face, dancing, feeling that. There's evidence, isn't there? Music and connection. Yeah. So I suppose you're in this club, all feeling the same way, all dancing to the same beat. It was quite powerful.
Yeah. Wow.
But I think there's something, I think I always knew that I had this confident person in me, but I was really struggling to get it out. And so I read something somewhere once where somebody said, you know, shyness is just a form of rudeness. And that was like...
Of rudeness?
Yeah, because... So I would sometimes go to pubs and I'd sit there and I just wouldn't talk because I just couldn't think of anything to say. But I suppose they would have seen me thinking, why is she being so rude and not talking? And it wasn't that I was being rude. It's because I was painfully shy to the point of just being lost in myself. The clubbing, I think, because it's in there and that helped it come out, it doesn't go back away then, does it?
Right.
It becomes something that is, I mean, it took me a while. I think getting out of Pudsey was brilliant as well because you can reinvent yourself, can't you? And
you certainly
all
did.
those people.
So, like when you... And I'm not shy. So you probably never have been. So when you're shy and you don't want to talk, why? What's going on in your head at that point?
So it's not that you don't want to talk, you just can't think of anything to say. So I'd sit there in that especially in that environment. So if I knew people, it was fine. But especially if there was boys there, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to say... I'd just like, so in my head, say something, Louise. Well, what can I say? I've got nothing to say. Oh my God, this is awful. Oh my God, I've not said anything. And now I can't say anything because I've not said anything. And so there's that. So it's like torturing myself. Whereas, and it's weird, isn't it? Because I can go up and talk to anyone now. It's very, very weird.
I think quite common, to be honest.
Is it? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, I still, you know, and you know, when you do those awful... And when I say you do these awful, because I'm the person that makes other people do these awful icebreakers. But I used to cringe with anxiety. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't say it in a clever enough way? What if people judge me? So it's all those thoughts going on.
So you've always got, did at this point, these negative thoughts shouting at you in your head.
Yeah.
That's quite tough, actually.
Yeah.
So when did they stop shouting at you in your head?
I think I think the more you expose yourself to different things, the less you worry, don't you? But I'd still, you know, I can still choke a little bit sometimes if I think, you know, I still worry about what people think of me a little bit and still choke a little bit. But because you evolve, you become less worried about that, don't you? It doesn't matter. It's yesterday's newspaper. They're all your rational thoughts, but social anxiety is still a bit of a
bit there.
thing. Yeah. Don't know why I worry what people...
Even now, like when you've been through all of this, and you must know that people think you're great by now, you've still got a little voice going.
If I say the wrong thing once, people are going to judge me, and that'll be it. Do you know, it's weird, isn't it? When I say it out loud, I know it's ridiculous.
But it's still the reality in your head, and you can't stop your head. So you've got whatever in your system.
This is like therapy.
I know. You're buzzing from whatever, and you'll chat to people because you haven't got those thoughts. What is going on in your head at that point? Just nothing.
Just happy, love
you.
Yeah, basically, literally. I mean, I met one of my best friends now. I met her in the warehouse. We joked because there were some steps, and she was taller than me, so she was on the bottom step, I was on the top step, and we just danced all night. And she's been my best friend ever since. So
I love it. It's like. It's quite nice to hear a positive story about it.
I know. I mean, I obviously don't share this a lot, and it is a bit strange because I think about my daughters now.
Yeah.
And obviously there's loads of challenges, but there's challenges with all... So because I was a drug and alcohol worker, and I, you know, coffee, alcohol, cigarettes.
Yeah.
Say, I can't even say it.
Why can't you say it?
I don't know.
Come on, say it, I dare you.
Ecstasy.
Ecstasy. Ecstasy.
Yeah, I was in the car with my dad, and that song was on before people understood what it was. And I'm like,
chuckle.
yeah. But at the time, it was a hidden secret that we were all part of this wonderful, amazing place that nobody else knew. And then obviously there were absolute casualties, and it can be really destructive, can't it?
Yeah.
But so can alcohol, can't it? So we have to learn to manage, don't we, and take what we need from those things. I mean, I might have significant dementia when I'm older. You don't know what the cost is of all that as well, do you? But I would honestly not change that in a heartbeat. It was absolutely one of the most amazing experiences.
Well, and quite life-changing for you in terms of who you've become and from that journey. So you're at uni having your fun and loving the world, and then like what did you do after that? Let's move on.
Yeah, so I was I think I've not had a career path. There's this thing called squiggly careers, and that is absolutely me. So you just and I've always said I've followed the energy, so...
Wait there, we can't just say that. Followed the energy?
Yeah. Well, like when we connected, who would have known what? So you have a conversation, somebody says, oh, well, this could be something. You go, oh, well, that's interesting. And you pursue it, don't you? And it becomes something so...
I'd say when we first connected through work, I got a really nice feeling after doing what I can't remember, did an action learning set. And I almost, I want to do more with Lou. That was really good fun, and she really gets me, and I really get her. Is that the energy? It's a good connection, actually.
Yeah. You do the work you do because you want to get impact, don't you?
Yeah.
It is about impact, isn't it? So if you're doing something you enjoy, it feels positive and you get an impact and you can get paid to do it. I think that's all brilliant. So it's kind of following that energy. What am I good at? Where am I connecting? How am I making impact? And how can I follow that? So I've squiggled. I haven't, I didn't think, right, I want to end up, I wouldn't even know the job I did, the job I do, apologies, an OD, I'm organisation development practitioner, professional, whatever you want to call it. You wouldn't have started out at school like that. But well, so I went couldn't find a job, was temping.
What was your first job at uni then?
Well, it was at a pub. So I was temping at Britvic. I had a year out, and I was working in the offices, and this same temping agency, there was a pub in Pudsey, that because I was back in Pudsey, that she'd had to let some of the staff go because they were stealing money. So she brought in 4 of us to work one shift from this temping agency. So I ended up working at this is what I mean. It's weird. So you take opportunities and follow energy, don't you? Or opportunities maybe. But so I ended up working at the pub, and then she owned the pub, and her daughter and I are now really good friends. And so you kind of found your tribe, and I worked there for a good few years, kind of managed it.
But even though you're back in the conservative Pudsey, but because you'd been through this happy experience and had more confidence, did you go back almost a different person?
With a different, and met different people and had a different, social. I mean, it was brilliant. I lived with Sarah. We were still going clubbing. We had amazing friends. It was a really good time. And again, there was something about me in work behind the bar, if I'd have been on the other side of the bar, I'd struggle to have the conversations. But because I'm on this side of the bar in a role, I could be the friendly radiator. And it was in those conversations where people said, you really look, you're always championing the rights of others. Why don't you look? And it was like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of doing that as a job? So volunteered with Home Start. You've heard of them. You become a befriender with a family who's at risk, who are known to social services, and you befriend the mum with the child and do all that kind of stuff. And then it just followed. I followed the energy from there. I followed the passion, connection, energy, whatever. I'm quite driven. It is nice to have a title of such as, do you know what I mean? I've always wanted to kind of do better and become more successful, but always making sure you're having its impact.
But that's like, because you said in the pub you started off as a temp and then ended up managing the pub. That's clearly a bit of drive, isn't it?
Yeah. Probably a bit of snobbery as well, isn't it? It's terrible, isn't it?
I don't think it's that. I think and for me it's more around status. I think your job gives you a status. Yeah. And having to let go of that, I've found a bit tricky. But and you keep it's like a societal pressure to keep wanting to move upwards. Is almost this pressure that we should always be going up.
Yeah.
So we've finished at the pub, and was there a moment where you're like, no, I want to do something that? Yeah. Was there? What was that moment?
Well, no, this late night chat when it's weird. Why didn't I think of myself? They literally said, why don't you go into that? And I thought, oh my God, why don't I go into that? And then that gave me a bit of focus. I left the pub, so I had different hours. I was working at British Gas in a call centre, but with the aim to do the voluntary work that would then I think I wanted to be a social worker. But I've never ended up doing, that's always been an issue for me as well. I've never ended up doing my social work qualification. So I've always felt like I'm you know what the NHS is like as well, clinician versus, so that's always been a little bit of a hang up as well of mine, but loved all the jobs I did, but always wanted to grow. Worked in a hostel for homeless people, then worked in this is the thing, I suppose, wherever I am, I might come into contact with another role and think, oh, that looks good. And then generally I'll end up finding a way to go into that role. So when I was working in Wetherby, in this home for people with learning disabilities, we also had a hostel for homeless men. So I want to go there. So I applied and found a way to get a job. And then when I was working in Dewsbury, got into contact with Lifeline and thought, I really want to work in that drug and alcohol. So I managed to get into there. So I suppose there is a path, but it's squiggly in the sense that, when you find connections and find things that you're passionate about, you want to follow it.
I think you're just a bit fickle. You're like, I like that job. That's the next shiny toy. I'm going to do that job. Oh, I like that job now. You got to go and squiggle. It's just
I'm a magpie.
A job magpie. So what's going on personally at this point? Have you met your nearest and dearest yet?
Yeah, I met Darren. We were out in the Faversham in Leeds. We had mutual friends. So Sarah, I was mentioning, we were in this big group of friends by that point, and her boyfriend knew Darren, and we'd been out once, I remember. And I remember thinking, he's quite nice, but he's with someone. And then the next time I met him, we were all out and he wasn't. And then we ended up getting together. I always remember I had chopsticks in my hair and he pulled a chopstick out. It's the thing we always talk about. And he was living in Peterborough, so that was quite an exciting time going to see him. And then we did have a bit of a wobble. It was a trying time for us where we split up, and he went off and travelled the world, and I went clubbing in Leeds.
You got it wrong there. That magpie's not done well for you there.
But we came back together. We're always in touch, and we ended up coming back together, and it's brilliant because I think I wanted to go off and try being single, but I still love Darren. So I'm actually really lucky that I could do all that and then still be with Darren. And
it's always like, actually, the grass isn't that greener.
Darren said the grass might look greener, but it still needs mowing.
How did he make you love you more?
He made me feel like I was somebody that was lovable. Yeah. And he was, very compliment. Like it's ridiculous, the silly things. Like I used to hate my legs. My dad called them rugby players' legs, whereas Dad was like, "You've got great legs, why don't you?" Yeah. It's really silly little things. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we know loads about gaslighting and the effects of difficult relationships. And I'm just really lucky that I met Darren or somebody else, because I was very impressionable, clearly. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And my view of myself is probably crafted by how other people see me, and it fits with the whole social anxiety thing, doesn't it? You know, what if I say
certainly.
something wrong and I'm judged? Ooh.
Like that comment from your dad stayed with you, didn't it? All that time. And it was probably an insignificant comment to him.
Yeah.
But to you, it's, I don't know, I love it when people get together and they improve each other.
Yes,
I think that's
exactly.
what is beautiful about that relationship.
And I did definitely improve Darren as well. You know, so his mum died when he was 14, and that was something he really carried around. And he's grown, I've grown, and luckily we're growing together.
Yeah.
And helping each other grow as well,
Yeah.
which is lovely, and still do that, you know.
That's what I think's beautiful about a longer term relationship, in that you have to grow together to stay together. I think, you have to make a conscious effort to do that sometimes. So we're back with Darren. Excellent news. Career-wise on track, then came along the most important things in your life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the girls. It's been amazing. I've really enjoyed it. We went travelling this summer, 3 months around Europe on the train. Wow. And it was just having that time, because they're 13 and 14 now, having that time together. And, you know, like I just remember one of the, you know, when you think of a holiday, you have a little mental image, and the mental image of that holiday is us on a train carriage playing cards. You know, explored and adventured together. It was amazing. So I feel that, you know, they're nice. I like spending time with them. They're nice.
That's
kids.
ace. Yeah.
I mean, they're a nightmare as well, obviously.
Yeah. And when we did our first trip with the kids, it's special memories, isn't it? That'll stay with them, hopefully, but us forever.
Yeah.
So in terms of, like, throughout your life, have you got any examples of where you've experienced kindness?
Loads. Yeah, lots. And I suppose, you know, that's probably part of what brings me here today, because, you know, we work together, and I see you as being you were really kind to me, and you were a big support to me when I was, you know, that was quite an early part of my freelance career, doing the actual learning. I was massive, you know, there were some big development points for me in terms of putting myself into scary situations and thriving, and you were on that journey with me, and I think you believed in me as well, which gave me confidence. So I mean, you know, you could call that you can call that kindness, can't you? And I think kindness in work is massively underrated. Why can't we be kind to each other at work? What is it that makes people become mean and unpleasant in work? I'm meeting another colleague later, and I told her where I was coming in. She said, "You're very kind, Louise." And I think you give and you get back, don't you, to people that you've connected with. So if somebody gives, it's nice to give back.
And that's just the way it works, isn't it? Because I'd say from that experience, actually, I was getting a bit of a Brucey bonus, because you're really good at what you do. So for me, it wasn't an act of kindness. It was I felt really lucky that we could get you. So that, like, from my perspective, you're one of the best at what you do. But from your perspective, you're actually quite shy and nervous about doing it.
Yeah. It's really nice of you to say that, though, as well, because I think it is about smoke and mirrors a lot. Sometimes, you know, you go into scary meetings or doing things that are developmental. People don't know what's going on in your head, do you?
I think that's a really interesting point. We should be more mindful to tell people when we think they're good. Like, I probably never, like, I used you because I thought you were great, but I never probably voiced that out loud, going, I think you're really good at what you do. And I do try and do that more now, but I think that's something that if you think someone's great, bloody well tell them.
Yeah.
So give me a personal example of an act of kindness that you've either done or...
There's innumerate daily, I would say, because if you look for it, you can find it. But I didn't have a pound for a trolley, and so somebody said, "Have that pound." I thought it was lovely, and then I thought it's about how you share that. So when I'd finished my shopping, I went and intentionally said to somebody showed me this kindness, so I'm now giving you the kindness back.
You paid it forward.
I take the ripple, yeah.
I love it.
There's big and small kindness, isn't there, I think?
What's the biggest?
I mean, I don't know if it's the biggest one, but I've got a wonderful neighbour. Before I moved into the house I'm in now, I wouldn't have known. I was always a bit like, oh, keep away from your neighbours, because, you know, don't get too close. She's amazing. And we were having some work done. Everyone talks about the dust, don't they? And we got to the point of, oh my God, the dust is ridiculous. It's awful. Darren had gone away. The house was cold. It felt dark and stank. And Rachel said, come round for Sunday dinner and come and stay. So we went from this cold, dark house, because we were living there, and we'd got a makeshift kitchen and there was dust everywhere, and we were living like in a little bedsit thing. And I went to stay at a house, and she made roast chicken dinner, and she put me in, and I will remember that, you know, literally going from cold and dank to warmth and glowy, and Rachel being lovely and making a roast chicken dinner, and we're going down and she let us stay over in this lovely bed with, you know. So that was a big kindness, really, you know, and I will never forget it because it was just at the right time. Is that the kind of thing you're thinking about? Yeah,
because again, there's something for me, it doesn't actually cost a lot. It was time and effort and thoughtfulness. And have you like had any unkindness, would you say, in your life?
Yes.
Like what?
Well, in work, I think there's, you know, people get so, what people will do when they are in a working environment, especially when they're stressed or when relationships break down, people can be so unkind, bullying and meanness. And so when I'd been at Leeds Council for a significant amount of time, and the manager there, the senior manager, was known for like picking people off. It's interesting as well, isn't it? Because I've done a lot of reflection on this, and I was really angry, and it did feel like a really difficult time for me. But, you know, nobody's a bad person, are they? So what happens when people are in those kind of roles and they get that power, and then they get a bee in their bonnet about ... And then she used to pick people off, and then eventually it was my turn to be picked off, and just, you know, undermining and not supporting and feeling awkward, and, you know, in the interactions, you know, people freezing you out, you know, all those things. Yeah. And it's just so significant meanness in a working environment. And the sad thing is, you know, because of the job I do, OD, and we go and see dysfunctional teams all the time, or places or groups, or it is so common, isn't it, for people not to be kind to each other, but they're not bad people. So it's really interesting. I do puzzle over it a lot. What stress and power, and how that can really mean that relationships break down.
And I think some of it is it happens over a period of time, because I don't think you ever start a job thinking I'm going to be mean, but actually within that role it almost becomes acceptable because of that behaviour pattern growing and growing until the point where it's horrible for that person. So how did you deal with that in terms of, well, you left, but
yeah. Well, I went off on sick.
You were in terms of your mental health.
Exactly. Yeah, it's off. I was when I went to the doctor, and you don't realise how stressed you are, do you, until you stop and then look back. And I was like, and then it did knock my confidence for sick, and it was a really difficult time. But it was and I did this. You know, I talk about wellbeing at work a lot, and those difficult times are times of growth, because it is the best thing that happened to me, leaving Leeds and having all that happen, and surviving it, and believing in myself. So maybe that was the culmination of all that thing. So whereas now I probably do believe in myself a little bit more, and I am in a much better place in terms of work. I think what you said is completely right. So I think I am really conscious, because I am quite a giving person, but I do like things done in a certain ways. But I'm really, really careful. I wouldn't ever want anyone to feel like that. But we all have the potential to be that person, I think, and we have to guard against it. So I think you've got to be aware of it all the time.
Yeah, and I can think back to when I've been in a similar position and how that made me feel. But what I really liked is that actually you grew from that. So how did you become more self-confident from being told you were shit, effectively?
I know, it's weird, isn't it? So my phrase was, keep going. So I was applying for jobs. It was very difficult. Didn't know what the future looked like. Keep going. So I'd literally had a little mantra, keep going. And Darren being amazing. Yeah. He's very helpful. And having brilliant friends. And I think from keeping going and keeping trying and rolling with the punches, you learn that you can believe in yourself and you can survive. So I think you're right, it's ironic that you have to almost go to the bottom to believe in yourself and then grow from it. It's weird.
I agree though, because when it happened to me and I was in the bottom and I got myself out of it, it was horrible. But when it happened again, I knew that I was going to get out of it, even though it was still horrible.
Yeah.
I just knew that it would get better.
Yeah.
And unless you've been there and climbed out of it, but that actually gave you self-confidence, which is really interesting.
And it's resilience. Resilient, isn't
yeah.
it? You know, so I agree now. I will look at other roles, magpie-like, but in a different, you know, but I think I did get stuck in a rut at Leeds. I felt like I wouldn't be able to find another role, blah, 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 blah. And I don't feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I can move. So I did, you know, one role previous to this wasn't quite right for me, so I moved, and it's great, that, isn't it?
That you've got the confidence to do that.
Yeah.
I've just looked at your hair.
Oh yeah.
I haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah.
What in terms of the journey, just to explain to people?
Yeah, so I have alopecia.
What age were you when you...
So I was pregnant with Florence when it started.
So quite
falling
old,
out.
not old, but...
Yeah, mid to late 30s.
It's like, it wasn't a thing that happened when you were younger. You were quite self-confident at this point, actually, if you look at your journey.
Yeah, so pregnant with Flo, and then it started falling out, and that's been a real journey. And then when I gave birth to it, literally started growing back. But then this whole thing at Leeds, the stress, it did start falling out again. And then it was growing back. And
Why'd you get alopecia?
They don't really know.
Okay.
They don't know. So it's an autoimmune disease that they don't really understand. Stress is a factor. But then I'm not stressed now, and it's not growing back now, but it has grown back a few times. I managed to get treatment, great place at Salford, this wonderful consultant, but it's fallen out a number of times. But that's a journey in itself, because it is difficult for a woman to lose the hair and to have a sense of a sense of self, because
it is like it is a sense of identity, actually.
Yeah, it is. I always remember one person saying to me, she said, "I'm really sorry, Louise, but my mum's got cancer, but she didn't go for the treatment because she didn't want to lose her hair." And I thought, oh my God, I'm so glad. I mean, I found that a bit insensitive. So, well, what are you saying that I'm not? I just thought it was very strange. I would never have, not that I can afford it, I wouldn't have plastic surgery now because I'm not, it doesn't bother me that much because I don't have hair. It doesn't matter what I look like, so it's probably been a bit of a journey of, I'm not brave enough not to wear my wig in public, and I've become less brave around that, actually. And I don't hide it, but I don't share it willingly. So I feel it took me a long time to get used to it, but having a good wig helps, and
right.
And the love of a good man.
Yeah,
he is really good though. He's never ever made me feel, like.
But you wouldn't go out in public with no hair. Why?
No, I don't know. Just the judgment.
And have you been out and people have judged you, or you've just never even attempted it? I mean, there's no right or wrong.
No, I've never attempted it. I think I might have done it in the garden a few times, but I won't even do that now. I think because, I like to wear. I like to look a bit on point. Not all the time. It's not massively important to me, but so it would feel like oh, look at that lady that's bald, I don't know.
Do you think people would feel sorry for you and assume you've got something else?
That is quite common, but that wouldn't. It would be more that I would be seen as not attractive. It's ridiculous. Not that I care, but when I say it out loud again.
Because I remember when it had been growing back and you didn't have your wig on because you had enough hair to...
Yeah, and then it fell out again, yeah. Various trigger points, but I do think stress hasn't helped that journey.
So, but you'll kick around the house like the kids are used to seeing you?
Yeah. I would take it off with friends or family, so that's fine. But kids struggle, like my nephew at the minute, it's like, Auntie Weezy's hair comes off, Auntie Weezy's hair comes off. Because it must be a weird thing for a kid though, like what is going on? Why does her hair come off?
But it's really a big part of who we are, hair. It's weird because it's just hair.
I know. It took me a long time to look in the mirror and not hate myself. Yeah, it's weird actually. I've just realised now it has a long time, like only in the last year, and bearing in mind I'm 50 now, so it's over 10 years,
that
I can not not wince. Sometimes I look like, what's he called? You know, in the Addams Family, the bald guy. You know, if I've not taken my makeup off properly, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, or Emperor Zith, or sometimes, you know, and they're not too, you know, a woman don't want to, you know, the two people that you identify most with, the President Ziff and the bloody, you know, Uncle Fester, that's who it is. That's not you really, you know, you want to be Marilyn Monroe, don't you know, Uncle Fester, so... But I don't hate myself as much when I look in the mirror now. I can accept what I look like.
You see, my solution is I rarely look in a mirror. not on purpose, I just don't.
So you don't have mirrors in the bathroom?
Yeah, but I don't really look in it. I don't really care what I look like. I don't ever... It's weird, isn't it?
I love it. I do. I love it, yeah. But what a healthy way to be, though. Because so that... Think about me describing myself as shy, and really it's social anxiety, isn't it, I think?
Yeah.
And you don't describe yourself as shy and don't care what people think, literally, like you will go out however you want, because that's interesting, isn't it? So
yeah.
mine is social anxiety, worried about people think even now, to a lesser or greater degree.
Yeah.
I'm more unconscious. I'm not consciously thinking, right, I've got to look good because I want everyone to like me. It's not, but
yeah.
Unpicking it now with you, that's what drives it. But you don't have that, and that's why you'll say anything, do anything, wear anything, because you literally don't care what people think. Is that right?
I think so. I don't know, because the kids are the most honest people, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you got on there? I'm like, So I think maybe as I've got old, I don't give a shit. Who am I kidding? I remember I did an interview and they were coaching me on what to wear, and I got a personal shopper.
Did you?
Just because I wanted the job. So maybe I do care but I guess a lot of people buy my clothes for me as well. I don't even shop that often. It's weird. I've never really thought about it. Yeah.
You are what people aspire to be in.
God,
but we just get caught up in it, don't we? You know. We shouldn't care what we look like, should we? The girls won't walk out of the house with us now in case it gets seen by the friends, because it's embarrassing to be seen with your mum and dad.
The way we kind of move towards the end is we think about a kindness summary. So, like, what can people do that would enable you to be the best you? And we're not having in the kindness summary, go out and take ecstasy. Just so you know, that is not in. However much it helped you, it's not in. We're not condoning drugs on the...
I think the big thing for me is kindness in work. And I know that compassionate leadership is a thing now and everyone talks about it. I believe most problems in work or most relationship breakdowns come from misunderstanding. I passionately believe that. Maybe that's why I do the job I do as well. And if you can unpick where you're at and empathise with other people, I know it's probably a bit naive. I think most things could be sorted because I inherently believe most people are good. We just get into bad habits, and where that's most pronounced is in the working environment. So I think, like, we should all be ready to hear that we might be bullying somebody or not making somebody feel good, and be ready to take that on board, honestly reflect and do better and be kind to others.
Yeah, so I think for me there, what can I do, or what can we as a society do, is be more open to feedback, actually, which is a hard thing to do. You've got to be in a good place to be able to not take that personally. But actually, we all get stuff wrong every day.
In systems leadership at work, we talk about leaving your ego, silo and logo at the door. You know, so when you're going into those places and you're having those conversations, if you leave those three things there, you're having better conversations. So I think, especially what you just said then, if we all have an ego, don't we? Yeah. Especially in the working environment. So and working environment, apologies. So if somebody comes to us and says something that bruises our ego, it's very difficult to take that on board. But our ego needs to be pushed back, doesn't it? So that whatever we are told, we can accept.
Yeah.
Even if it's difficult, even if it's something that's, you know, for me, if somebody said to me, I feel like you're bullying me, Louise, that'd be really hard to hear because it's absolutely against my values, but I've got to leave my ego at the door to hear it.
So actually there's a thing there about being brave enough to challenge people, because that's hard. I hate hard. Conflict, and, you know, but actually, if someone is doing something that we're not comfortable with, then be brave and talk to them about it.
brave adult conversations.
Yeah. And what about non-work? What about throughout life? Any tips people could take home and to be kinder as a society?
I'm just trying to think about, the whole how we judge other people and how, but I mean, I'm terrible when first thing I do is Google celebrity news on a morning if I can't sleep. I mean, that's so embarrassing, isn't it? Because that is about judging others, isn't it? So how do we stop the judgment? Or do we have to accept there's judgment and still live our lives? I don't know.
It's a hard one. I think the whole social anxiety thing's hard because, like, as soon as I said, "Oh, maybe go and talk to people if you think they're being quiet," that's not the answer necessarily.
No.
So how what is the answer? How can I, as a society member, support someone yourself when you're take yourself back to your 19-year-old self pre the love phase? Like what is there anything?
I don't know. Like if we're doing action learning set or doing some kind of, you do contracting, don't you? And so I'm always really conscious in my contracting. If you want to sit there and not say anything, that's absolutely fine. That's your personality type. So could we do, life contracting so that my 17-year-old self wouldn't be sat there going, "Oh God, everyone's judging me for not talking." Instead, I'd be going, "It's okay because if I want to sit here and not say anything, I can, and that's fine."
I don't know whether you could get away with that in the pub though. Right, everyone, I'm just drawing here's the flip chart. So we need a way that it's socially acceptable to sit there and be quiet.
Just be yourself. You want to talk. If you want to do a silly dance, do it. Let's try not to judge. Let's try not to judge.
I think the answer is somehow not making the person feel judged.
Yeah.
Let's ponder that.
Well, because I need to do that. I mean, it's part of what kept us safe as cave people.
Yeah.
Was those judgments that we unconsciously make about things, so that we can navigate the world, can't we? And react. But they're not always that helpful, are they? Because I don't like it when I judge others, and I don't want to be judged myself.
And I think that's the interesting thing, because you feel that you're judged, but you're probably not being judged.
Yeah. 'Cause Louise, people have got other stuff. It's not all about me. Yes, good point, Sonia. Yeah.
So actually it's about making a conscious effort for number one, don't judge people, which is a hard one to do because some of that is instinctual, but actually don't assume that other people are judging us. And so what if they are?
So what if they are?
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, they're thinking, Louise looks on point today, rather than thinking, why don't we think that?
Because that's interesting, because we started this conversation with you being Miss Positivity, but when it comes to your own head, you miss negativity.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
It's so interesting. So I can't give to myself what I would give to others.
So therefore, your last point of act of kindness summary is start being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that, Lou? Game on.
Be kind to myself. Accept, and if I do judge people, accept it. If I don't judge people, accept it. Be kind to myself. Yeah. Do you know, I know somebody who, and she's a very confident person. She says when she walks into a room and people are laughing, she assumes it's because she said something funny. Whereas if I walk into a room and people are laughing, I'm like, "Oh my God, what have I got?" So it's like, how can you do that though? How can you reframe
it for other people?
Yeah.
So you've done that journey if it's for other people.
Yeah.
But when it's for you, so now you've got to figure out what that journey is for you to be an internal radiator.
Yeah.
I'm spouting shit now.
No, I love it. I love it. Shine the glow on myself, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you've got the answers to that, let us know.
Yeah. I'm massive on appreciation, though, and I love to do it to other people, so I just need to do it to myself, Mother. Yeah. Well, oh God, you unleashed a monster. God, I'm looking good today. Yeah.
Check me out. I'm going to look at that mirror and wink.
Or maybe I shouldn't look in a mirror. Maybe that's what I could do. One day, I'll go out one day and not look in a mirror. Yeah. And see how that goes.
There we go. I've got you thinking, and I know how much you reflect. That's your journey home sorted, isn't it? Fab. Well, thank you very much for that. It's been fun, actually.
Really enjoyed it. I'm not sure I don't know if you can use any of this, but it's been brilliant for me. I've really enjoyed it. It's really therapeutic.
I'm really enjoying it.
If you want me to do a testimonial on how good doing these interviews feels, just ask.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Curious Chats and Kind Acts. It was lovely to have you. Can I just say a massive thank you to all the people that we've interviewed who have been so honest and vulnerable with me so that we can have these real life stories to share with you, our wonderful listener. And remember, we'd love to hear what random or small acts of kindness you've been up to so that we can maybe do a few. Find us on all the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our /ActsGB, that's ACTSGB. And drop a comment on our feed, tweet us, or even send a photo. Let's build our kindness community together. We'll read some of our favourites on future episodes of Curious Chats and Kind Acts. And you never know, we might even have a go at a few of your ideas ourselves. Watch this space on the socials. For more information about the Acts charity, including how to donate to us, head to actsonline.uk. See you next time!